Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you're all well. Here we are, we're on. We're making it happen. If you are here, please say g'day, mate. Yeah, just say hi in the chat so I know that I'm not speaking to a brick wall. And I've got some awesome questions coming for you guys that I want to answer. So those of you did send questions, thank you for sending those questions. Today's theme is gonna be about growing our online businesses, buying online businesses, but also about Web 3.0. So, hey, Ahmad or Ahmed, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But hello, welcome. It's great to have you here. Uh, and for everybody else that's here, please say hello. So, Ahmed, I'm going to answer your questions, which are really, really good questions. And if you have any follow up questions, please let me know what those are as well. Because this isn't just me here speaking to you. I want this to be interactive. I want us to build a relationship here and hang out and chat and make this fun. So, when everybody else is coming on, say hello and welcome. Or if you're watching this not live, say hello as well. All right. So, first question I have that I got is I got some questions from Neil. Now, what I want to do is I want to see if I can share my screen with everybody. And to do that, I actually don't know how I can share my screen with everybody. If anybody knows, please let me know in the chat. How do I share my screen? Can create a poll. But I'm not sure how I share my screen with you guys. So if you know how to do that, let me know because I've got some cool stuff to show you. It's not absolutely necessary, but there's a few people on here that are watching live. Say hello. But I did get a question from Neil. He has a website. He wants me to show his website. So it's smartstartupbiz.co. And then he's got some questions as well. Basically, his questions are how to get more traffic, how to hire a team, how to improve your marketing, how to work less, and how to earn more. So at the moment, sorry, Neil, I have gone to your site, startupbiz.co, and it is unavailable. So I can't actually really comment on your site, but I can comment on your questions. And I'm going to get to yours soon, Ahmad. And anyone that does have questions, please post them in the chat because this is like me hanging out with you and you just asking me questions like we're sitting here in the living room. So let me know what your questions are in the chat. And the first question I want to answer is how to get more traffic. Okay, Neil, thanks for that question. How do you get more traffic? Well, it really depends on your site, right? So how is your site already getting traffic? What you should be doing is focusing on how the traffic is already coming to your website. I guess most people here watching this have blogs or content sites. And the simple answer is that if you're getting content from Google, then what you should be doing is creating more content for Google, but based around the subject or the topic that you're getting the best results from, right? So if you're talking about fishing, and let's say you're talking about deep sea fishing, then if your top post is about deep sea fishing and how to become a pro at deep sea fishing, then what I'd suggest you do is create some supporting content around deep sea fishing. It could be 10 different types of deep sea fishing lures. It could be how to present how to prevent yourself from being seasick when deep sea fishing. It could be, what is the best sunscreen for deep sea fishing? What is the best burley for deep sea fishing? How to catch a tuna when deep sea fishing? Whatever is working for you, whatever topic that you're covering that's bringing in the most amount of traffic, create supporting content around that, and that'll help you bring in more traffic. Does that make sense? Make sure the content is really good as well. There's so many things that you can do to get more traffic. You can optimize your site for SEO. You can optimize your blog content and articles for SEO. Also, you can just create better content, and that's probably the best way. Is just create such awesome content that people actually want to consume. That will bring more traffic to your site. If you have a bit more of if your question is a bit more specific, then that's great as well. I can help you with that. Now, how to hire a team. This is the big one. Hiring a team is interesting, and it can be fun, and it can be frustrating. So the best way to prevent hiring people and having it be frustrating is preparation. Now, you could post a job and say, I need somebody to write a blog post about fishing. And what you're going to do is you're going to get so many people apply, and you're going to have to interview so many people, and you may just end up not picking the right person, right? Mainly because, and it's going to cost you a lot of time, and that could also cost you money by picking the wrong person and you having to pay them for the work that's no good. Now, that's why preparation comes in. You should prepare yourself to hire the right person at the right time to do the right job. So what I like to do, and I've just hired people this month and last month, is know what job I want done, know what I want that work to look like, and then go away and find somebody who has the skills to be able to execute that job, right? Also, what I want to do is I want to create a system and a process, right? I want to outlay and outline how to have that job complete, how to go from start to finishing that job, and that piece of work, say that article that I want created, how they get to a finished product and what I want that finished product to look like, right? So as soon as I hire somebody, I grab them and I put them through my process and through my system. And so that process and system trains them up how to do the work. So I don't need to teach them and every single person that I hire to go through that. Hey, Hannah, it's great to have you here. Thanks for saying hi. Please let me know your questions. I'm happy to answer anything about online business and entrepreneurship or mindset. So with that, once you've built out your process and your system that when you hire somebody, they can follow without you having to always train somebody new that you bring on, you don't have to put them through, onboard them personally each time. They can go through their own onboarding sequence. Then it makes your job a lot easier, right? And also, it makes it easier to fire somebody or disclude somebody from working with you for the long term if they don't produce the right result. Because if they don't follow the process in the system and get the result and give you the result that you want or the piece of content that you want in the level of depth that you're after, then you can just easily disclude them because you didn't spend time training them. The system did, the system that you created. So you could put 10 people through and you could choose one and go with that one person. So that's what I recommend, is be prepared when you're hiring somebody. And then once you've got all that preparation, go to the place that you're going to post your job or find the person and know exactly what skills somebody would need to complete that work. If you're going to hire a writer, maybe you want somebody that is, if they're going to be writing about fishing, somebody that's got experience in fishing. Maybe you want them to be a natively English speaker. Maybe you want them to have a portfolio of proof that they've written content about fishing before, or content similar to the content that you want, and know how to, create content and get images and all that sort of stuff if you want them to do that too. So preparation is the number one thing that you need to have in place before you consider hiring somebody. Now, how do you know what tasks you want outsourced? That's simple. Work out what you don't like to do in your business or what you don't want to do, and then you'll be able to find somebody to do it as long as you follow that preparation list, right? So what I do, and I've done this just recently, is like, what are some of the things that I just don't like doing in my business? And it's this thing, that thing, and another thing. And then I go, all right, I'm going to create a system on how to do that job and a process in how to do that job and complete it and actually get a result from it. And then I'm going to get the person to run through that process and complete that task. It's very simple if you know how to prepare yourself for the hiring process. Hannah, how much should I plan to spend on my first website? Should I buy a website if I don't have any experience running a website instead of building one? That's a big question. And it's a great question, Hannah. The question of how much should I spend on my first website is how much money do you, there's a question that you need to ask is how much money do you have? It's definitely don't spend all of your money. So for example, if somebody's got $1 million, don't go buy a business for $1 million or a website for $1 million. Now, a lot of people starting out don't have $1 million in cash. Some people may have 100K in cash, and that's awesome. Don't spend 100K. Maybe spend in between 50 to 60 or 50 to 80K on that business. If you have 10K, don't spend 10K. Maybe spend 5 to 8K on that business. If you got 5K, don't spend all of your cash. Maybe spend up to, 3 to maybe 4K on a website. So the reason I say that is it depends on everyone. Because if I say, buy a $50,000 website and you don't have $50,000, that's not a really good answer for you, is it? The answer is don't spend all of your capital and keep some for contingency, some to grow the business if you need money, and then some for your personal life as well. If something comes up that you need to spend money on those things like your health or whatever it is. So don't spend all your money. Have some contingency money for your business and for your personal life. And then the next question is, should I buy a website if I don't have any experience running a website instead of building one? That question is an odd one to answer. And my question to you is, what are you optimizing for, Hannah? What do you want? Do you want, if your only goal is to make money online, then buying a website, I think, is the best way to go. If your goal is to have a business that you're so passionate about and nobody else has that business, or it's not there, and you're prepared to be in that business for 10 years or more, then create that business. And that's the only time that I tell people to go away and start an online business from scratch, is that if they've got something they're so passionate about and they know they're going to be in that business for 10 years or more, and they're prepared to go through the hard slog and not make money in the first year, maybe even longer, then start a business. If your goal is to just make money online, I say don't start a business, because there's people that have gone through that startup phase that have already got businesses that are set up, they've done the hard work, and they're already making an income stream, Hannah. And what we can do is we can buy that, and then we can learn from the person who's selling the business directly how we run the business and how we operate the business and what we can do to grow that business as well. Now, a lot of people may go, well, shouldn't I learn how to build a business? You can. If that's your belief system, you can try to learn how to grow a business. But the best way to learn business, in my opinion, is to be in business. And you've heard that from other people before. So there's a lot of people that I've taught to buy businesses that haven't started any business before, and they have no tech skills, and they got no experience about online businesses. They've bought businesses, they've learned how to run those businesses from the person they bought them from, and then they've taken them over and grown them without any prior experience. So it just depends. How quickly do you want to get to your goal? Because building one from scratch takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And then you've got this high percentage chance of failing, which is 90%. I don't know anybody that bought a website business that's already making money that failed, because as soon as they bought the business, they're making money. So that's my take on it. And does that make sense, Hannah? Please let me know if that makes sense to you, or if you have any follow-up questions, or there's something that I didn't really cover in depth that you would like me to? It's a really good question, and it's a common question that I get. All right, so more questions. Let's have a look. All right, let's move on to some of your questions, Ahmad. Now, Ahmad's got a few questions. He's got things about NFTs and DAOs, DAOS, decentralized, I think, automated organizations. I'll get to this. This is a big discussion, and I've been learning a lot about it. So I'm excited for that and the space. So another question. Let's move on to like the buying sites and growing sites, because you got some really good questions there. We'll stick with this theme before we move on to the whole Web 3.0 and crypto space, NFTs, and all that sort of stuff. The first question is: are there proven business models around this you would recommend exploring? Okay, that's around that crypto and NFTs and stuff like that. We'll get to that. What additional requirements would go into the due diligence process? Okay, that's a very broad question. Yep, thank you. Is there a shortage of good content sites to buy? Let me come to that, Hannah, because I've just started Ahmad's question. The question is, what additional requirements would go into the due diligence process? It really depends on the type of business you're looking at purchasing, Ahmad. So every business is different and set up in a different way. And if you're buying a content site, it's different to buying an e-commerce business. So if you're buying an e-commerce business, there's things you need to be asking about the product, right? How many people, what's the percentage of returns? How long does shipping take? What's the warranty? Who covers the warranty on those products? How much time do they spend on customer support? How much time do they actually spend on customer support? How many emails do they get per day or week? What's the best selling product? What's your cost per acquisition? All these different things that are very specific to a e-commerce business. With a content site, it can be different. What's your number one post? What's your top 5 posts? How much traffic comes to those pages in terms of percentages? Is there single source dependency on that number one post bringing in the most traffic? And if so, what's the risk of that? How do you de-risk that? I could go on for another week on different things for due diligence on either an e-commerce business or a content site, but it's very dependent on each particular type of website business. But the main things are what you should be getting from my due diligence framework. If you haven't got my due diligence framework, go to my site, buyingonlinebusinesses.com, and then click on resources, free resources, and you'll be able to get that due diligence framework and then a bunch of other cool free things that I've got for you, like rate pages and things that are going to help you buy businesses. So I'll put a lot of stuff out there for free, including my content. So all the main things about the due diligence process will be in that framework. Then if you are going to buy a business, you don't have to, but I do recommend joining my membership so you don't buy a dud and you get me to have a look at the business before you actually even make an offer. So that's a really good question. Next question. Oh, sorry, Ahmad's saying some stuff here. I meant additional due diligence in regards to NFT based models. Okay. More specifically, NFT art flipping, staking type models. Makes sense. I bought your due diligence course earlier. Cool. It's great. Awesome. Glad you like it, Ahmad. Thanks for buying. All right. Let me get to the NFT process. Your other question, Ahmad, is what do you think about new Empire Flippers investing platform? Okay. That's a broad question. Is this the platform that you need to go away and show proof of funds, or are we talking about the, investing into their operator deal thing that they've got going on? Let me know if it is the new platform where you need to show proof of funds. I think it's great. I think it's really good for their business model because it stops them from having to answer and work with people that don't have funds yet when they're not ready to buy businesses from Empire Flippers. It cuts down their workload, which is really, really good. The operator deal thing. Okay. So if it's the operator deal thing, the minimum is 20K. Look, I think you actually need to be accredited investor. I would say there's definitely risks with online businesses, and the risks increase depending on what type of investment that you make. But if you're, you can invest in these operator partnerships in Empire Flippers. If you don't want to learn how to operate or grow a business, and you can still get a percentage of income back from that. Uh, I think it's a good thing to diversify. I wouldn't say go all in with all of your capital into it, because anything can happen. And I would say have your capital spread out between different forms of investing. It sounds like you're into the crypto space, so maybe have a bit there, maybe have a bit in online businesses, and then a bit in property. I love property because it's like the least risky, in my opinion, of a lot of the asset classes, and you can use leverage with minimal risk. So that's why I really like property. And then business being high risk, high return, and then also crypto being high risk, high return. And I would say, and then I have gold and silver and all those different things as well. So I like to have most of my money in property and in business, and then a little bit in some other asset classes. So in terms of the operator deal thing, is if you're going to go for that, I would treat it as a risky investment if you don't know much about the space, or you don't know much about the business or the operator. But if they've got some good operators on there that I know, like I think it's Moet and a couple other really good operators. They're great business people, and I would back them to run my businesses even. So uh, you should really do your own due diligence on each of the deals that you're going into with that. But if you've got a more specific question, like the more specific your questions are, Ahmad, the better, because that way I can not just make stuff up that you may not want me to talk about. So let me know if you've got a more specific question around it. Is there a version for this for non-accredited investors anywhere? Not that I know of. No. I'm pretty sure you need to be an accredited investor for all of these types of deals that are like publicly listed businesses. Next question is, how would you recommend we hedge against another big economic recession? Oh, it's a really good question. And then there's another question. Are there specific online businesses that would fare better than others in such a case? Oh, good questions. How do I recommend we hedge against another big economic recession? Gold and silver. Hey, Thomas, you're back on again. Great to see you here. Thanks for coming. If you got some questions, Thomas, let me know. How would we hedge against another big recession? It's a really good question. I would say in property, people, when things go bad in the world, there's a few things that people need. People need somewhere to live. They need food and water, and they also need access to fiat, so money, or something that they can trade to buy food and water. So in 1925, what happened was the worst economic collapse, I think, in a long time. I don't know if it's in recorded history, but it's a long time. And what happened is dollars went to zero, and people were just burning dollars, like literally setting them on fire and throwing them out because they were rubbish, trash. It meant nothing. Which they went back to the gold standard, where gold really was the most valuable form of currency. So what I think, if there is a big economic crisis, and that's why I started getting precious metals like gold and silver back in 2015 when I thought there was going to be a crash in 2016. I started putting some of my money into precious metals. And also, I think owning property really helps in that time as well. Now, the property prices may just go, like we saw in COVID, they went up everywhere because everybody was moving. When technically they may have should have gone down. So I think property is a good place to hold your money. I also think I'm talking physical property, and then I also think with precious metals. Now, things like the share market and crypto, they can just dive because it's more liquid. People can pull their money out of that really, really quickly because of a crisis, and they're worried about holding cash, right? So people pull their money out of the markets. Now, with the different business models, and Thomas and Hannah, I'm going to come to your question shortly. With the different business models, Ahmad, or different niches that would fare better, there are some businesses that can withstand economic crises. Now, think about it this way. When a crisis happens, what do we need? What's necessary? Medical is necessary and essential items. So we're going to need soap, toothpaste, food, and first aid stuff, right? And maybe even medical advice, nutrition advice, health advice, and there could be some other things. I won't rack my brain for more. But these niches or industries are things that we're always going to need. Now, when COVID happened, it wasn't an economic crisis, but it could have been. And what people need to do is they need to look after themselves, right? So we need to make sure that we have toilet paper for wiping our bum, food, water, supplies. Also, if we're all stuck at home or we're in a crazy environment, we need to stay healthy, right? So it's going to be dependent on when the crisis is and what type of crisis it is. But there's some different niches to think about or industries to think about when you're trying to buy a business that can withstand an economic crisis. And sometimes there's things that we just can't predict. Like we just couldn't predict that toilet paper would just sell out in Australia like crazy, and there was a shortage. And that, toilet paper, instead of toilet paper, it could have been toothpaste, or it could have been tissues, or it could have been anything. So there's some things that we just can't predict that will sell out, and we can't predict will happen. Right? Like Zoom, the video conferencing call thing just went through the roof because more people were using it. They never knew that would happen, right? Maybe they did, but I highly doubt that they knew that more people would adopt virtual calls, video calls, as quickly as they did in 2022. So there's some things that we just can't expect and can't prepare for. So it's a really good question. Now, I'm going to come back to your questions, Thomas and Hannah, because I want to finish off Ahmad's questions around NFTs, DAOs, and are there proven business models around this you would recommend exploring? NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and DAOs, decentralized automated organizations, I think it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Ahmad. I have just started learning so much about the Web 3.0. If you guys don't know much about Web 3.0, look up what is Web 3.0. And I'm even I was speaking to somebody last week who gave me some of their own coin, their own creator coin that they created. They launched it for 36 cents. It's now at $40. And he's introduced me into this realm of our own creator coins and what those creator coins are built on and the blockchain that they're built on. Now, your question, Ahmad, is What are your thoughts on NFTs and DAOs? I don't know much about DAOs, but NFTs, my thoughts on NFTs are that they're going to be used. It's a digital piece of content, and it doesn't need to be art. It doesn't need to be an image. It can be an audio. It could be text. It could be a video, and people will sell those. So I could create a video talking about how to buy website businesses and make X amount of money in X amount of time. And I could sell that to somebody, and that person thinks it's really, everybody might think it's really, really valuable. That could go up in value. And when somebody sells that, say you buy that Ahmad and you go, all right, this, I bought this video from Jaryd that is this how to buy websites in 90 days. And you loved it. You thought it was really good. And then because you bought it first, nobody else got to access it. And there's only one of them. And the person who really wanted to access it, after you finished consuming it, Ahmad, you're like, cool, you may have bought it for $100, right? US. And then somebody else is like, look, can I please just have it? I'll buy it for 120 from you. And Hannah might go, I'm going to buy this from 120 from you, Ahmad. What can happen is that when you sell the NFT, that video training to Hannah Ahmad, is I'll get a royalty for that. And then the price of that can go up as well. And as this continues getting sold, I sell it once, but I can continue to make money. So I think a lot of creators are going to create NFTs. I've thought about it, and I need to learn more about how it works and how to do this in a way that people would really want to be a part of it and adopt it, and it be awesome value as well. I don't just want to put something out crap. You guys know that I don't like to do that. So I think NFTs are definitely going to be a thing of the future. Maybe not just what it is now. I think the whole digital pieces of art in terms of JPEGs and stuff like that aren't going to be what we think they will be in 10 years' time. I think it won't be that important. I think there'll be different types of NFTs that'll be far more valuable. You say, look into the DAO that tried to buy the US Constitution. Very interesting stuff going on. Thanks. One more question. Let me get back up to the top. All right, because other people have been waiting. Sorry, guys. Thomas, I've been looking for a SaaS business to try 5x as a side hustle, but I'm having trouble finding a good one in the 10 to 15K range. I've been looking for a SaaS business to try 5x as a side hustle, but look, Thomas, he says the slim pickings on Flipper and other brokers marketplace have nothing in that price range. Advice, where to look, maybe try other type of business like ecom. Yes, Thomas. People aren't going to sell a good, solid, established business for 10 to 15K. Okay. And what I would suggest is that and this is going to be probably a humbling statement for you, and please take this with the understanding that there may be a bit of work on your plate to come. So if you want to buy something for 10 grand and 5x it and get it to 50, I say in my head, I go, if you're going to buy something 10 to 15K range, and that's all the money that you have, I would say to 5x it would be a very audacious goal. I don't know, maybe you're talking about 5xing it in 10 years time, and you can do that, or maybe 5 years time. But if you want to 5x that within a year or two, it's going to be very, very hard to do without additional income putting into it and somebody with experience in the SaaS space. So I would not be setting your goal too high too quickly. We often overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but underestimate what we can achieve in 3 years. So what I'd suggest is don't set your goal too high. Even if you double it, consider that a huge win, right? Some people are focused on 5xing and 10xing and all that sort of stuff. And when we don't achieve that result in a year's time and we only get 2x, we consider it a write-off. But you've doubled the business. That's amazing. You've doubled your money in 1 year. But because you didn't achieve your big goal, you run out on it. And in year 2, you could get to 3x. So don't set your goal too high too quickly. is my number one piece of advice there. Secondly, yes, a 10 to 15K SaaS site isn't, is not really going to be out there available for sale, right? So I would be suggesting starting off with, a content site. It depends on how much you know in the space, Thomas. If you don't know anything about online businesses, do not buy an e-commerce business. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of hats to wear, and a lot of risk compared to buying a content site that you can start off slowly, and you can scale it a lot easily yourself. So that's what I would suggest is look at something in the content space. Great questions. Hannah, do you think content websites are becoming obsolete? Definitely not. No way. Content sites are very, very valuable for specific niches as well. I think affiliate sites, like plain affiliate sites, will phase out. And I'm hoping so. Google doesn't like them. They just don't like them because those affiliate sites are just shoving products down people's throats and not really giving that much value. They don't really care about the user as much as some other content sites. So that's something to consider. Ahmad, one more question. In your interview with Amelia Gardner, she pointed out that whether you buy or build, you're going to need to learn how to operate the biz first so that at least you can delegate. Do your clients accelerate their learning curve before, after acquiring an online business? Of course, that's a great question. Of course, they accelerate their learning curve after they bought the business, because you can try and learn things in business, or you can start a business, right? But say you start a business and you're making $1,000 a month from that business. A lot of people would, that's can be life changing to some people. But the difference between owning and running a business makes $1,000 per month and $10,000 per month is very, very different. So even if you start something from scratch, and you get to $1,000 per month, you've learned a bunch of stuff, but you're gonna have to learn so much more to get to be running a business that's doing 10,000 per month. So of course, doesn't matter where you start or what you purchase. Of course, the learning curve accelerates after you buy the business. Now, I'm not to say Amelia's wrong or I'm wrong. We have different points of view on it, which is totally fine. Like there's different ways to skin a cat. Not that you should skin a cat, but there's different horses for different courses, I should say. And in my opinion, from what I've seen and what I've done with people, is they have gotten great results from buying a business without experience and learning how to run and grow the business. And what they've learned in a 3-month period has been far more valuable than what they may have learned in a 2-year period of starting a site. So there's no right or wrong way. It's up to you. What do you want to achieve and how do you want to go at it and how quickly do you want to achieve those things? Thomas, thanks, Jaryd. Just to add, I've worked at tech startups. That's why I was looking at SaaS first. Can do most of the work myself. Cool. All right. Awesome. So why don't you buy something for bigger then? If you got the experience, buy something for bigger, and work on that. And I wouldn't suggest that you do all the work yourself either, because then what you're doing is you're buying yourself another job. If your goal is to make an income, then I would suggest not buying yourself another job, buying something that is big enough to afford to outsource to somebody to do the work, and you can check it because you understand SaaS. You dare say you're a developer. Hannah, thank you, Jaryd. Are there better or worse times of the year to buy a content website? Is there a shortage of good content websites available on the market? Okay. I would not be trying to time the market when you're buying a site. I do see that a lot more sites usually sell in January and Feb, maybe into March. And people, at the end of the year are wanting to sell their businesses, and people that started the year wanting to buy businesses. So that could be the reason for volume. But I would think about it, Hannah, of like, is when's the right time for you to buy? And what's more important is what's the right business for you to buy, and when's the right time for you to buy in terms of how much money you have and when you're in a position with enough time and are ready to purchase that asset. So I wouldn't try to be timing the market. Just like when if I'm investing in anything, I don't try to time the market. I don't want to buy something based off how good or bad the market is. Because if I'm buying something that is based off the performance of or where the market is at, that means I'm reliant on the market, and that can be scary for me. I don't want to be reliant on the market. I want to hold something for a long time and not be reliant on the market. So I don't try and time the market. So is there a shortage? So the answer is no. I don't think there's a good or bad time to buy a content site. Is there a shortage of good content websites available on the market? No. And if they're not available on the market, everything has its price. So you can buy off-market deals as well. So I don't think there's a big shortage. What you'll probably see is that if you don't know how to do due diligence quick enough, and you don't know how to spot the deals and execute due diligence on the deals and put an offer in quick enough, is you're probably only seeing the not so great deals, because they're the ones that don't sell and they stay on the market longer. The ones that sell, that are good, sell really fast, because people that want those businesses know how to do due diligence and know how to execute quickly. So if you're interested, I'm going to plug my stuff here. Check out my Buying Online Businesses membership, which will be able to help you with that. Also, you get a bunch of advice from me, and you can ask me these questions whenever you like. Good questions. Wow, what a convo, guys. You've came to me with some awesome questions. Thanks, Thomas, Hannah, Ahmad. If you guys have any other following questions, let me know. I'm going to read out what I didn't cover. From the questions list that got sent to me. But thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for saying g'day. If you got any following questions, put them in the chat now. Because as you can see, I love helping you guys. It's good. All right. So let's see. I don't think we've got any other questions from the list that I got sent. If you guys do have questions that I didn't get to cover here, or you're watching this and I've got one more question here from Hannah here. If you do have questions and you're watching this as a replay, then reach out to me via Jaryd at buyingonlinebusinesses.com, so I can answer those questions in another video on a YouTube live that will be coming up. And yeah, if you're not on my list, get on my list. I don't know what you're doing. There's some cool stuff on there. Last question from Hannah. Can you tell us a little more about what's included in the membership? Of course. So I would say first go to buyingonlinebusinesses.com and click on work with me, and then you'll be able to see the membership, what's involved with it. It's the Buying Online Businesses community. The membership, you get my full Buying Online Businesses course. You get my Growing Online Businesses course. You learn how to do due diligence on deals. You get to submit those deals to me that you've done due diligence on, and I review them for you before you even make an offer, and I point out any risks, opportunities for growing the business, and then your next steps. Additional questions you need to ask the seller to make sure you are not buying a dud business. We have campfires, so virtual events in the membership. We have a group where you get to ask me any and all questions you have. And I don't just answer them, everybody else answers them as well. So it's a good hub. We have people doing 5, 6, and 7 figures in that community, in the online business space, buying, selling, and growing online businesses. So yeah, that's the short of it. There is a lot of training in there though. There's a lot. Thomas, what is a proper price range to start with since mine was too low? Well, you may have missed at the start. It depends on the business you want to buy. If you want to buy a SaaS businesses usually sell for north of like $100,000. So have a look at the market and see what's available for sale. Ideally, if you're starting out, you know, a smaller amount is going to be better, but it really depends on your situation, Thomas. It's really hard for me to answer the question in the best way that's right for you without knowing your personal situation and just giving you a general blanket statement. It just doesn't work that well. So with the SaaS, like I said, there's not really that much available probably for under 100K. If you're going to buy something under 100K, it's probably not a very good SaaS business. It needs a lot of work. So you may need to get funding for that if you're going to do that. Then a content site as well. Too low is like if you're buying something under the $5,000 range, is like you're buying something that's not really making much money, and your goal is to buy something that has a proven track record. That's the point of buying a business, is so you don't have to go through the startup phase. So a startup phase for a SaaS business can be very different to a content site. So 0 to 10 can be very tough. It can be really the startup phase for a content site, but 0 to 100K or 200K can be the startup phase for a SaaS site as well. So it really depends on what type of business model you want. But that comes back to like how much experience you have. Maybe you've got experience in SaaS, and if you do, and you can prove that you've gotten a great result in growing a SaaS business, and you can prove that your work directly resulted in the growth of the business, and you can prove that to investors, then you can use investors to buy a SaaS business if you don't have the money. But good questions. I hope that helps, Thomas. And everybody else, thank you. I have to go. And thank you for the questions. If you got more questions, let me know. Email me, Jaryd@buyingonlinebusiness.com. I'm happy to help you guys. Peace out, and thanks for coming and asking your questions. See you guys. Bye.